What I'm going to do is I'm going to hand out to you a questionnaire. And let me have your attention real quick on what's on this questionnaire. It's going to get handed out to you. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to fill out this questionnaire, and you're going to do this in about 25 minutes, which means, are you going to be able to do this questionnaire perfectly? No. No, but the idea is not to do it perfectly. The idea is to get started. Can you loan me one? Thank you very much. All right. The first question is, so if you don't have one, that's all right, it's coming. If you have one, here's what it says. The first question is, where would you like to be 1 year from today? Let's just write it down. Where do you want to be? The second question is, hang on. Second question is, why am I not already there? Now, let me tell you something. That is a very powerful question. Because usually, for most people, they have a goal of where they'd like to be, but if they would simply ask themselves the question, why am I not already there? They start getting a lot of clarity and insight on what needs to happen next, right? So I've made a list underneath question number 2, A through G. All right, now let me ask, watch this. Everybody look at me. 1 second. 1 second. Settle in. Just because there's 6 or 7 spaces there does not mean you have to fill in all 6 or 7. Furthermore, hang on, you don't have to stop at 6 or 7. In other words, there's spaces there. You can fill in 3 of them, or you can add 3 more to the list. So don't try to do it perfectly. In 25 minutes, you're not going to do it perfectly. Question number 3. What are the critical drivers or success factors? What are the critical drivers or success factors that have to happen if I'm going to successfully achieve this goal in 1 year? Make a list of what they are. There's 2. There's question 1, question 2, A through G, and then there's question 3, correct? Is that correct? Good. You're going to add question 2.5. So I want you to write on your piece of paper, right after 2G, I want you to write down 2.5, and then right next to 2.5, write the word over. 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 O-V-E-R. And then what you're going to do is you're going to turn your piece of paper over. And what you're going to do is a drill down. A goal, a plan, and execute. Does that make sense? You're going to do that on one thing that you could do when you leave here. You got a goal. Good. What's the plan? What are you going to execute? What's the new goal? What's the new plan? What's the new execute? You're not going to do it perfectly, but it's going to get you going. You're going to be able to see, here's the power of this thing. Number 3, what are the critical drivers? Number 4, what activities? This is a very powerful question. Number 4, what activities or skills must I excel at to achieve this goal? If I could blank really, really well, I could achieve this goal. Fill in that blank. And what it's going to do is it's going to give you some clarity about, here's something that I need to learn. Here's something I need to do. Here's some skill I need to have. Number 5. How will I make certain that I excel at these activities? What will I measure? So, what I'm doing is I'm putting into place. Good. What are some ideas on how I go about making sure that I excel at these activities? Number 6, what could I do to improve my situation? So let's make a list of things I could do to improve my situation. I had somebody come up to me at the break who's in the architecture business. Where is that lady? Where is she? Just say your name. There she is. What's your name? Kimberly came up to me at the break. She's in the architecture business. She says, look, on this drill down thing, I'm not real sure what to do or what the cost is associated with different ones. I said, I know. That's okay. Let's figure out what our problem is. See, what will happen is, do you know what the problem is? The problem is most people in their lives solve the problem that isn't and not the problem that is. And I see it over and over again in people's lives. Make sure that you're going to solve the problem that is, not the problem that isn't. For example, let me give you an example. Is anybody here ever given any consideration to, or you're struggling with figuring out your life's purpose? Anybody ever done that? Anybody still struggling with that? Good. I had the same struggle when I was in my 18-month sabbatical. I kept trying to figure out, Keith, what's the purpose of your life? What's the purpose of your life? I kept asking that question. Finally, I had this thought. Because I was meditating, I was reading the world's religions, studying philosophy, theology. All the ologies is what I did during that 18 months. Psychology. And so I had this thought. And the thought was, Keith, if you had the opportunity to have one last thought and then die, what do you want the last thought to be? If I had the opportunity for one last thought and then die, I thought, well, man, if I can come up with the answer to that question, maybe I've made some progress on my life's purpose. I thought about it. I meditated on it. I did crystals. I owned. I did all that woo-woo stuff. I love woo-woo. I do. I admit it. And finally what I said was, I know what it is. If I have the opportunity for one last thought and then I die, here it is. Whoa! That was spectacular. Do you know what? That gave my entire life meaning and purpose right there. I figured out that for me, it's not about what I do. It's about who I am. Who do I have to become to have what I want? That's the power of asking and answering the appropriate question. Whoa! Whoa, my God Almighty. Whew. This was my life, and I'm proud of it, and I would gladly live it again if only given an opportunity. Whoa! That was spectacular. Very powerful to be able to ask and answer the right questions. So what we're going to do is, we're going to say, okay, let me get my glasses. On this one, we're going to say, okay, what could I do to improve my situation? Make sure that I'm constantly making improvements to my situation. Number 7, what are the major constraints that are preventing me from achieving this goal? Because the reality is that look, Murphy is alive and well. There's all kinds of constraints and trade-offs. Number 8, what are the trade-offs and sacrifices that are required to make significant progress to the achievement of this plan? There's going to be trade-offs. There's going to be sacrifices. Something's got to change. If you're going to start doing more of something else, you're going to do less of something else, right? Isn't that right? I mean, here's the whole problem. The whole problem is everybody wants to go to heaven. Nobody wants to die. Am I right? Yeah, so the reality is if you're going to go to heaven, some part of you is going to have to die. You're going to have to stop doing something and start doing something else. Good, what is that? And here's the kicker. This is the kicker question of the whole deal. What are you assuming to be true? But if it were not true, would change your thinking. I'm going to suggest something to you, and I'm willing to be wrong as I am on everything. Everything I say, look, don't believe me. But on this one, I will tell you, one of my beliefs is that our lives are controlled by one thing and one thing only, and that's assumptions. Sometimes those assumptions are good. Sometimes those assumptions are not too good, but our lives are controlled by assumptions. So the question is, what assumptions are you making? Some people make the assumption, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not old enough, I'm not the right color, I'm not the right height, I'm not the right sex, I'm not the right nationality, I didn't have the right parents, I didn't have the right education. All those are assumptions. And they may be true, and they may not be true. And there's a whole other raft of assumptions about why we don't have a spectacular relationship. There's a whole other raft of assumptions about why we don't have the health or the spirituality or whatever it is. We just make all these assumptions. So I'm going to ask you the question, what are you assuming to be true? But if it weren't true, it would fundamentally change your life. And let's start questioning our assumptions, okay? You're going to have about 25 minutes to work alone on this exercise. There's 9 questions, which means, and actually 10, counting 2.5. You can't piddle around. Are you going to do it perfectly? You may not even get to the end. That's okay. It'll give you something to work on your airplane trip home. Okay? Don't come up here and start asking me. Last time I taught this in Orlando, I had like 50 people lined up here, all to come tell me about their personal situation and their problem and how their problem, and they really don't understand this, and I don't know that, and blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, look, figure it out. Really. I mean, figure it out. You're adults. I don't know your life. You know your life. All right, you have 25 minutes. Ready? Go. How are you doing? Is your brain working? Are you beginning to get a little clarity? That is critical, so that when you leave here, regardless of what your idea is, so that when you leave here, at least you got some clarity on, okay, well, what do I got to go do, or what do I need to measure, or what do I need to execute, or what might I be assuming is true that may not be true, drill down. All of those are tools. And my expectation is that so far you probably have not done enough work to be totally clear, but the question is not whether or not you've solved the whole problem. Have you made some improvement? Yes. Now I'm going to put you into an exercise that will stun you. You're about to be stunned, okay? Get in groups of 4. How many? 4. Does this many, everybody look at me, does this many, is this the same as this many? No. In groups of 4, not 5, not 3, 4, I don't care who you're with, ready, go. All right, here we go. Shh, get settled, get settled. Here's what you're going to do. Pick a number 1, 2, 3, or 4 in your group. Somebody's going to be a 1, a 2, a 3, or a 4. Okay, this is not a negotiation. Here we go. Shh. 3s, you're going to go first. All right, now hey, here's what's going to happen. Hang on. Here's what's going to happen. 3s. You're going to tell the other 3 people, or some cases 2, other people in your group, here's what I want to achieve. Here's what I view as the reason I haven't gotten there yet. Here's the top reason why I haven't gotten there. You don't have to give them all 15 reasons. Tell them 1. Here's what I'm going to go do as a result of the drill down. In other words, you're going to go through your list of, maybe you only got to 7 things on your list. Maybe you got to 8 things on your list. Maybe you got to all 10 questions. You're just going to go through and say, here's what I'm planning on doing. Here's my problem. Here's my solution. Here's what I'm going to go do. Here's what I'm going to measure. Here's the assumptions I've been making. And you're just going to tell the other 3 people. Now, I'm going to tell you something. The single of all the reasons to be at this kind of event, the biggest advantage to come to one of my programs, same as coming to one of Harv's, is because you're around like-minded people. The biggest problem that entrepreneurs, the people that I work with, the biggest problem that I have, that Sandy and I have, is surrounding ourselves with like-minded people. Do you know what our problem is? Our problem is we can't find anybody who wants to play how we want to play. Do you know what I'm talking about? The biggest problem most of you have is because that if you went home and told your friends and family, tell you what's about to happen, I'm about to become